Wow, this story about King John's got to be one of the best Shakespeare plays I've ever read. I've got to go tell Cameron all about this.
I gotta tell you all about this book.
All right.
King John.
Should I come in your house or do you want to come in here?
I'll come in there quick, really
All right.
quick. Oh, Cameron, dude, I just read this awesome book, King John by Shakespeare. It's one of his best plays. Have you ever heard about it?
I've heard of the play. I know nothing about Shakespeare though. I need someone that's well informed to inform me on it.
Oh, really? Well, I can certainly tell you all you need to know about Shakespeare.
William Shakespeare was born on April 23rd, 1564, in Stratford-upon-Avon in England. He was the son of John and Mary Shakespeare. John was a successful glovemaker and merchant at the time, while Mary was the heiress to some land that her family owned. It is widely noted that this marriage was a step up in the social hierarchy for John Shakespeare. John soon rose to become the town bailiff. William Shakespeare attended the Stratford Grammar School from ages 7 to 13, where he studied mostly Latin, while some classics were also being stressed. After that, William went on to meet Anne Hathaway, who he married in 1852 when he was just 18. Together, the two had 3 kids, Susanna, Judith, and Hamnet. Unfortunately, Hamnet died in 1596 when he was just 11 years old. While Shakespeare was working to become a playwright and actor in London, he became an actor in the Lord Chamberlain's Men. His popularity grew throughout his years as a playwright and an actor, and eventually he became a near household name. William Shakespeare died on his birthday in 1666.
Boy, was that helpful. That really jogs the memory. I think I actually remember a little bit of information about the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
The Life and Death of King John is a 5-act play written by William Shakespeare between 1594 and 1596. This is the same time period that the English monarch of Shakespeare's time, Queen Elizabeth I, was trying to maintain control after declaring war with Spain, breaking relations with the Pope, and signing her cousin to death. All similar themes in the play. Many historians draw more connections from the events in the play to the time period Shakespeare lives in than to the time that the play was set in, the 13th century. Shakespeare is believed to have gained inspiration for the play from a 2-part drama called The Troublesome Reign of John, King of England. The title of the play encompasses the main figure in the play, the King of England, who is surrounded by many different characters that influence his decisions. With the addition of every character, the problems the king faces grow. Of the plays Shakespeare wrote, King John is believed to be one of the least known and one of the most underrated of his works. King John has one of the largest selection of characters. These are some of the ones that play the largest part in the play. King John. King John is the current monarch of England, but how he gained control of his current status is controversial throughout the play. Arthur. Arthur is the rightful and legal heir to the English throne, who is seen as a threat to King John due to his status of next of kin. Philip. Philip becomes a member of King John's inner circle after having him settle a legal argument for him. Queen Eleanor. Queen Eleanor is the mother of Arthur and will not accept the fact that her son does not have the throne to himself. Hubert. Hubert is a noble of Angers, a city in France, who is tasked with carrying out King John's task of killing his nephew, but cannot bring himself to complete the task. King Philip of France. King Philip is seen as a person who is easily persuaded by others, as he goes back and forth between picking sides with King John and Arthur throughout the play.
King John is the King of England after his brother dies. King Philip of France sends a messenger to John to tell him that his throne truly belongs to John's nephew, Arthur, who should have taken over the throne instead when his father died. To calm the tensions between the two countries, King John's niece, Blanche, and King Philip's son, Louis, agree to marry to create an alliance between England and France. Eventually, war still breaks out. So John captures Arthur and orders him to death. Hubert, however, tries to spare Arthur's life. But Arthur chooses to jump from the wall of the tower and ultimately dies. Many noblemen then think that King John is the one who killed Arthur, and they choose to rebel and team up with the French in the war. After King John swears loyalty to the Pope, so the church has his back during this war, the rebels realize that King Philip is going to betray them after the war, so they go join back up with King John again. This leads up to the scene we will be performing, where news will begin to spread that something terrible has happened to the king.
In Act 5, Scene 6, Philip is brought up to date with the condition of the ill King John by Hubert, while also bringing up common themes discussed in the play.
Who's there? Speak, ho! Speak quickly, or I shoot.
A friend, what art thou?
Oh, the part of England.
Whither dost thou go?
What's that to thee? Why may not I demand of time affairs, as well as thou of mine?
Hubert, I think?
Thou hast a perfect thought. I will upon all hazards well believe thou art my friend, that know'st my tongue so well. Why art thou?
Who thou wilt, and if thou please, thou mayst befriend me so much as to think. I come one way of the Plantagenets.
Unkind remembrance, thou and eyeless knight, have done me shame. Brave soldier, pardon me, that an accent breaking from thy tongue should scape the true acquaintance of mine ear.
Come, come, sans compliment. What news abroad?
Why, here walk I in the black brow of night, to find you out.
Brief, then. And what's the news?
O my sweet sir, news fitting to the night, black, fearful, comfortless, and horrible.
Show me the very wound of this ill news. I am no woman, I'll not swoon at it.
The king, I fear, is poisoned by a monk. I left him almost speechless, and broke out to acquaint you with this evil, that you might the better arm you to the sudden time, than if you had at leisure known of this.
How did he take it? Who did taste to him?
A monk, I tell you, a resolved villain, whose bowels suddenly burst out. The king yet speaks, and pre-adventure may recover.
Who didst thou leave to tend his majesty?
Why know you not, the lords are all come back, and brought Prince Henry in their company, at whose request the king hath pardoned them, and they are all about his majesty.
Withhold thine indignation, mighty heaven, and tempt us not to bear above our power. I'll tell Tree, Hubert, half my power this night, passing these flats, are taken by the tide. These Lincoln washes have devoured them, myself, well mounted, hardly have escaped. Always before, conduct me to the king. I doubt he will be dead, or ere I come.
After the scene, the king is brought on stage, where he dies in front of his advisors and his son, Prince Henry. After the death of the king, Philip delivers a speech declaring that the only reason England should ever fall to another power is if the people of England are not unified.
This scene gives examples of one of the many overall themes throughout this play. This is the theme of compassion and forgiveness. Hubert explains about how many of the king's followers forgave him for what he's done and have returned to his side during the current war. Hubert also explains how they are now showing their compassion for him by sticking by his side while he is poisoned and ultimately guarding him from his many enemies.
In many instances, betrayal shows up in the play. During the conflict between France and England, King John's advisors switch allegiances between the forces twice. In the scene performed, the two men describe the actions of the monk who poisoned the king after hearing the news of his orders to kill his nephew. The monk betrayed the king and poisoned his food.
Lynn Gardner, a British theatre critic, said that King John is often an overlooked play by Shakespeare, but it can be one of his most interesting historical plays. It is not going to be an interesting story like many of other Shakespearean writings, but it can be quite underrated.
In the end, King John is one of the most interesting of Shakespeare's plays. The way he was able to use historical events to describe what was happening during his current time period of his life shows his true genius in writing plays.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm so much more informed about King John and Shakespeare now.
Yeah, it's honestly really such a good play. I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh yeah, and Cameron, can I get a ride home?
It's a long drive. I don't think I can do it.
I guess I'll just run back home.